Perfect. So hi, everyone. It's May 10th, and we are going to discuss sales. I've noticed with a few of the sessions that I've been doing, and some of you are killing it in terms of sales. Some of you are just beginning and you're still struggling. So I wanted to emphasize some of the things that we probably discussed in our private sessions and to see how we can go from there. So we're going to talk about proposals. We're going to talk about the sales cycle, overcoming objections, leads, referrals, social media, kind of touch about marketing, but that's going to be probably another session, following up on the actual sale. And the most important thing is close the sale. If you, again, have anything that you want to address, let me know. Feel free to unmute and ask the question. These sessions are normally about 45 minutes, and then we have time for questions, and I will stay here until the last question is answered. So feel free and let me know. So sales. Proposals. Okay, let's start with the proposal, or even before that, qualifying your clients, right? When you get a potential client, the first thing you need to do is qualify the client. And by qualifying the client, when people say qualifying the client, they mean make sure that they're a right fit for you. The destination that they want to go to is a right fit for your business, and that you are a right fit for them. This is kind of a relationship. You need to communicate with these people. They need to trust you. They need to give you their credit card. They need to pay money. There needs to be some sort of a trust. I remember just recently, I had clients that we went through all the qualification. They actually purchased the book. Everything was done. And then at the end, after we finished and booked and sent them the itinerary, the confirmation, they were like, but how do we know that it's actually booked? How do we that we don't get there and we don't have a room, or we don't have a cruise? And I had to pause and say, maybe I did something wrong with my qualification, because if I haven't earned their trust, this whole process doesn't make any sense. I don't need people that don't trust me to book their travel, right? They're giving you a credit card, they're taking time off. They need to feel assured that when they get to the airport, they will have the plane tickets, they will have their cruise, they will have the hotel. So the qualification, the figuring out if that's the right fit, that's the first thing. You need to have some sort of a questionnaire. Something that you don't have to read from it. You don't need to send them a link for them to fill. You can do it all in a conversation or a Zoom. But that's a lot of the information that you need to gather from them. So you will first understand that they're a right fit for you. Later, you need to understand what they're looking for. Whether it's an all-inclusive, Europe FIT, a cruise, the dates that they're looking at, who's going. That's a very, very crucial part of the sales. Again, understanding what they need. But bottom line is, at the end of the qualification, you need to understand if you guys are a good fit, and you should have all the information to complete a booking, complete some sort of, put something on hold. You do not want to go back to the clients and ask, so how old were the kids again? Who's actually traveling? Is it a boy or a girl? Because they're going to Europe. I have now a single parent with 2 kids. They're going to Europe and they want to stay in one room. So I need to figure out, is it 2 girls, 2 boys? If not, we might have an issue there. I need to know what I'm pricing, right? The kids are 21 and 18. If it's a boy and a girl, I can't probably put them in one bed. So a lot of information that you need to gather from the client so you can make the right proposal. You don't want to work double. You want to figure out if the cruise that they're taking, if they stayed in a balcony before, or an inside, or a suite, if they're okay with a connecting flight. All these questions you need to figure it out, so you will have it, so you can actually get to the first part, which is the proposal. If you guys have any anything unique that you figured out that is missing out of your qualification? You've perfected it. You've asked for quite a bit, and then something weird came up that you never asked before. I would love to hear if there's anything, if you would like to share. Of course, the basic stuff right now, after after COVID, after people haven't traveled, is, do you have a valid passport? And I actually asked them when was the last time that you looked at your passport? Because some people haven't traveled in the last 2 years, and it was sitting in their safe or drawer, and they think that they just renewed it, but it was actually 9 years ago. So some of the things that you need, again, you don't want to work and get to the almost end, and then they can't actually finalize because they don't have a passport.
Roy, that was one that I was going to mention, because I learned the hard way by assuming that that they had passports, and then turns out that one did not, and wound up not being able to get a expedited and go on the trip.
Right.
So,
you assume if someone calls
yeah.
you, they're ready to go, right? They know a passport is needed, but you know what? Also, never assume. We also had, there's several issues and situations. I've had one that I never asked before, but someone said, okay, so how do I pay you? I don't have a credit card. I mean, you got to figure out things to see, but again, it's kind of like a one-off, someone always has some sort of an issue. You can always have them buy a Visa gift card or something. You could figure some things out, or wires, but yeah, there's always the odd ones. So the proposal, I've seen a few of the agents here on the chat, on the Zoom, that sent me proposals. Some are very, very elaborate and took a lot of time with the proposal. They look great. There's multiple tools out there to create an itinerary, whether it's that you're using an itinerary builder program, or maybe you have your own like a Word document, you have like a template that you just put it in, or you're using some of the suppliers' proposals. One example would be the sales email with Vax. They do have a great tool to send a sales email. I needed something a little more complex just recently, and I used Europe Express. If you are selling FIT in Europe, if you need to create some sort of a itinerary that would look nice, Europe Express has it. You can build your own. You don't have to call it in. You can build your own, and then you can have a nice itinerary. If anyone here, again, on the conversation wants to see an example of how it looks, you've never seen a sales email with Vax, you've never seen an itinerary with Europe Express or something like that, just let me know. I can share the screen just so we'll have an idea of what we're talking about. But the bottom line for me is that you need to invest a certain amount of time in the proposal process. It can't take you, an hour, 2 hours just to build a really nice itinerary and just to send your clients. You have to remember that when you're sending a proposal, maybe 5 destinations, maybe 7 resorts, or 3, 4 resorts, you're actually working 3 times, 4 times, but you can only sell 1, right? They're only going to take that 1 vacation. So invest, a decent amount of time, give it like 15, 20 minutes. If it takes you more than half an hour to create a proposal and gather everything together and write everything in and import it, then it shouldn't be. You really don't need to spend that much time in the proposal. If you want to send later really nice itinerary after they booked and have all the documents, whether it's with, again, an itinerary builder or an app, you can certainly do that after you already booked, which kind of means, it's kind of guaranteed because, you get the sale, right? You work for it. You don't want to spend half an hour writing a proposal and then they'll say, thank you, and it's not going to work. Also, something that I've mentioned in my sessions, the way that I personally send a proposal, The proposal is very basic. I don't write a lot of information in the proposal itself. I actually keep it to the conversation with the client. So I will send them an email with the hotels that I think, whether it's going to be like a list of the hotels, maybe a link to the hotel pricing. If it's if it's an ALG or something, I'll copy paste, maybe a cruise. And I will mention two things. One, if I haven't mentioned it in the qualification, I will tell them, just note that the prices that I'm sending are, this is the initial search. It is possible that once we narrow down the options, that we can find better pricing with other suppliers. So if you do find, if you went in and you looked and you found that you can find this hotel cheaper, no problem. Just let me know. This is not the final price. It's going to remain around the same pricing. That eliminates the shoppers or something. If they are going later at night and looking at it, and then they go on Expedia and compare, and they're going to say, well, but it's cheaper here, I'll just go ahead and book it. So by saying that this is still not final, they need to understand, and I say it in my qualification, that we work with multiple suppliers, 10, 15 suppliers. I will not go and check 15 suppliers at that point when I'm doing the initial search. Once we narrow down the 1-2 option, that's the time that we will then double check that the price is the best for them. You wanted to say something, Bill?
I had a question. So as you're going through the process, at what point do you try to hold rooms, or I guess in some cases you can only do that with certain suppliers, right? That'll allow you to hold until they come back and book. Because I guess that is one of the challenges, is like trying to price something out, and then sometimes the length of time they go to make their final decision, things can change.
Okay, so the sales cycle, the length of the sales cycle actually continues what I want to say with the proposal. So when I send a proposal, the proposal is without too much information. And what I technically write is, or even I will follow up with a call and say, I just sent the proposal over. When you and your husband, wife, friend are ready to book, ready to go over the proposal, let me know. Let's do it together. Let's go over. This does two things. One, you read it and you explain to them. They can ask questions at that time. And when you actually narrow down the option over the phone and they say, you know what, from everything that we looked, option 1 seems the best. At that point, I would then say, okay, so let's do this. Send me your names and dates of birth. If I don't have it still, send them to me. I will now go and research with multiple suppliers to make sure that this specific hotel that you want to go to has the best price. That's when I hold the option, and then I continue with the sales cycle. Akira, you had a question?
Yeah, I had a question about the sales email from ALG, because I had to look at that. The only thing about that one is it shows the vendor, and I try to avoid that because I've noticed in the past some will go back and try to book it themselves when the vendor is showing. And I didn't see a way to hide it. So if there is a way to hide it, please educate me on that one.
When I send the sales email, the initial sales email, you do, well, first of all, I send it to myself and then I forward it to the client, right? I don't send it directly from there to the client. So you could just take off the United Vacations FunJet from that. Yes, they can click on the links, and then when they go in, they will see the supplier, but it's the same price that you have. If you've done it correctly with the qualification and they understand the value that a travel professional brings to the table, it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to just go and book the same thing that you offered, just to go ahead and book it. It just doesn't make any sense. If they found it cheaper, or, you know, with another agent or something, maybe. But if they, again, I've never found it an issue where if I send a Fundjet offer, they'll go and book it on Fundjet themselves. You know, if they found it cheaper on Expedia, yes. Does that make any sense?
It makes sense, but I've actually had that happen to me. And they actually went on there and booked it. So that's why I avoid it if I could.
Remember, again, qualifying the client. Client needs to understand how it is to work with a travel professional. You need to let them know. If I send it to a client and a client booked, something's wrong with the client, right? So something's like this. It doesn't. They don't understand the concept. They don't want to work with you. And why wouldn't they? You know, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. There are options. You can copy and paste, replace the links with some, but it's too much work. Technically, if you've done the homework and you spoke with the potential clients and you found that they are good clients or suitable clients, that shouldn't happen. Okay, Michelle?
Yeah, hi everyone. So I actually have, it's a two-part question. I guess the first thing just to follow up is that, so I charge like a planning fee, if you want to call it that. So what I've found is that, well, I stopped doing this, but I stopped doing I don't do any work until like you've actually paid the fee. Because I've had people who then said, oh, you know what, we've changed our mind, we're not going to do anything now. And then later on, I find that they took the trip using the information that I gave them.
Okay.
So I stopped doing that. I guess my question is, now that I've realized like I spend way too much time in the planning process and getting a proposal out to a client, what does one of your emails or whatever kind of look like? And so I think what I struggle with is I don't want to seem cagey, right? Like that I'm withholding some information, but at the same time, I have been guilty, I think, of giving people more than they probably need at that time. So to Akira's point, like I don't want to give them too much that they end up just booking without me, but I haven't found that to be an issue since I now charge the fee because they've already paid the fee. So
okay. I can tell this is something that we can call an elaborate plan because they're doing London, they're doing Paris. So one option would be, again, I'm just writing, this is a simple itinerary, flight, hotels, writing what the information is. And they can read, again, that's these are the flights, that's the first hotel, that's the second hotel. So that's one option. Second option.
like no pictures, nothing like that? Because I spend a lot of time like pulling all that stuff
if they wanna click on there normally is a link, I guess, for this one, there isn't, but there's normally a link that they can click and they can see the hotel. But there's also the next one is here, I created something. Again, attached is a more complete suggested itinerary with the train and tours and museums and attractions. And I don't know if this will show. Do you see this, the Europe Express thing, or no?
I can't see it.
Try.
We're just seeing your email screen.
All right. Do you see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a custom itinerary for the family. Here's a picture, you know, with some information, but there's the flights and the hotel and some tours and highlights. And there's also possibly here the train, I think, somewhere, the Eurostar, and again, some more tours and more options. Do you guys know how long it took me to create this? This was probably 3 minutes. I mean, it's not something that I technically created.
Oh, and you did that yourself?
I did, yeah, technically I did this myself, but it took me 3-4 minutes with Europe Express.
Okay.
I don't know if you've
Thanks for
used the
sharing.
tool. Europe Express tend to be quite expensive, so I don't really use them for using them, but to create a really quick, nice itinerary, they're nice. It just you literally pick the flights that you want, you pick the hotel, and then they start going with, you need transfers, you need the train, you need tours. You just click, 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 whatever you want. And you got to wait for 10 minutes because the system needs to process it. And then they will send you a really nice itinerary like this. What's nice also with Europe Express, if you do decide to use them, let me go to my email. They actually break down the cost. You know, there's a lot of people. Let me invoice. Is that the one? No, that's the client one.
But you only use them if they are the supplier that you'll potentially book with?
No, I mean, specifically for
Oh.
them, I wanted to create something, but again, with Europe Express, they break down every component. That's not something that you need to send your clients, right? But it's something for you. So if, for example, you want to book this tour separately, or they only want to do one thing and not the other, or you want to buy the museum pass, they even sell metro tickets, like a 3-day metro ticket in Paris. So everything you could pretty much sell here. Commission is okay, you know, 12,000. I mean, they have air inside and it's for 3 people. So it's decent. But this is just, again, this is just a fast way to gather all the nice tours that can happen there. And, you know, you can kind of create a nice itinerary every day, or it's just really fast. The key to the proposal, the way that I see it, is you have to be able to present an itinerary, a proposal pretty fast, right? They're ready to maybe book. They called you. They don't want to wait for 5 days, 6 days to get a proposal. You don't want to, you know, you have life, you have maybe another job, you only spend X amount of hours in the business. It's totally fine. You need to work and figure out the best easy way to create a proposal, send it out. And now we were scheduling a call for tomorrow, and then we are going to discuss. And they're going to drop some of these tours. They're not going to take $12,000. I think their budget was only like $8,000. So we're going to lower it down. But of course, normally when they have a budget in mind, they don't necessarily think of all the tours. They think maybe flights and hotels. They don't consider food. They don't consider insurance. Which is some of the proposals for some of you that I've seen recently. You know, you add private transfers, you add insurance, and you add the most expensive insurance, best insurance the money can buy, which is good, but not, I mean, it's a good thing to have, but these things normally should come at the end. So as I said, I gave them the basic flights and hotels, gave them what the price should be for the flights and hotels. These are mandatory, right? There's no, to go on vacation, this is what they need. Now, if they want tours and they want other things, they're going to come, it's going to double the price. And now we can pick and choose what we want to add. But the basic, which is flight and hotel, they have to take, right? So we add things later that doesn't really fall into their $8,000 budget or $5,000 budget, right? I don't normally add transfers at the first, you know, once they booked or you got credit card, wonderful. Let me take the card information. I'll apply the deposit. I'll send you a confirmation that payment was done. Now I will send you options for insurance and transfers to get to the tour. Once we're done with that, we can work on maybe if you want to do an excursion or two, and then we'll go from there. But don't pad it so much that the trip now costs $10,000 because you added the best insurance money can buy and a private transfer and a helicopter tour and everything that's amazing. But if they can't afford because you added all these things, you're going to lose the sale, right? Just because you added insurance. there's still other options for, insurance, third-party insurance, or one that only gives credit and not full money back. And there are other options out there, but the flight they have to, the hotel they have to, and we'll go from there. The sales cycle needs to be faster, right? The prices change, as Bill said. So if you are there on the phone with them, giving them the options, and they're like, oh, we like this, we really like, okay, so what I'll do with with this family, assuming they said, we like the concept, we like the flights, we like this, okay, send me names and dates of birth as they appear in the passport, or copy of passports, whatever you feel comfortable asking. Let's just hold this and make sure that it's available, make sure that the price is correct. And then I put a hold on it. Normally you can do a courtesy hold. If it's a couple of months ahead, you normally will have like 3 days. If it's closer, you might have 1 day. If it's a cruise, sometimes you'll get a month. So it really depends. But I find that if you create an itinerary, an actual booking, you pick the seats, you pick the cabin, you pick something, and you send it to them, it's tangible. They see it. Oh, we're sitting in this and this. This is our cabin. This is deck 10. We're 5 rooms from the elevator. We can go up, and they see it. They visualize their vacation. Also, another way for you to call them the next day or 2 days after, saying the deposit is due. You can double check. What I sometimes will do is I'll double check the prices. If the prices went up, I will say, look, I just repriced it. I mean, we are holding the option and deposit is still due, but I was just looking at the options and the prices now are higher, or that specific cabin is no longer available or something. Just so you'll know, if we will lose this and we don't put a deposit on it, most likely the prices will go up. So if you are considering this trip, I would highly, highly recommend that you put a deposit. Suzanne, you had a question?
Yes, thanks. I want to find out, who is your favorite tour operator to use? I've used Europe Express before, but I don't really have a lot to compare them to. And when you mentioned that they were a little bit higher in price, it made me a little concerned now that maybe I should be looking at some other tour operators. So who is your favorite one to use?
The tour operators that do everything for you, go away. All these companies where you call and you pretty much give them what you want and they build the itinerary and they send it to you and everything looks nice, they're going to be the most expensive one because they're technically doing your work. So it depends on your level or your comfort level. If you mostly do cruises, all inclusives, and you get a one-off and you're not sure, I've spoken with a few of the Europe Express people. They seem that they know what they're talking about. They did maybe a couple of FAMs. They stayed at the property, or at least they say they stayed at the property. So they give you some kind of a feeling like they know what they're talking about, and you pay for their expertise. Same as, when a client comes to you. Even the VAX thing that I did, I actually priced it. I put it I wrote it somewhere. When I priced it on United Vacations and compared, if I were to buy the flight separate and the hotel separate, each one with, and I think in Beds Online or even directly with the hotel, I was $300 cheaper. I can book it myself, break down the package to 3 components and save $300 or make $300, right? I can mark it up. It's up to me. So right now, I'm just sending the easiest thing. Once the client decides what they want to do, this is when I'll decide how I want to book it. And it's also, again, your comfort level. I have a GDS. I feel comfortable breaking down the package and just making everything myself. If you are selling Europe, custom FIT, Greece, multiple countries, 95% of the times it will be cheaper if you do it yourself. If you piece it together, it's going to take more time. They have more components, several suppliers, more things can go wrong, but that's the best pricing that you can get. And again, if you do the work and you reach out to all the hotels prior and verify with the suppliers to make sure that everything works well, it's going to work and you're going to be profitable. really profitable if you're comparing to, even again, if I look on, they're not, what I like again about them, Europe Express, let me see if I can get the breakdown again. They're not ashamed, like they have fees and they write the fees in the invoice. Let me share this one again. So if they book the train, for example, right, they charge $81 for the Rail Europe ticketing charge. You can go to Rail Europe and book it on your own, and you can charge the $81 directly or avoid the $81. And the train, the 111, it's not 111, it's probably like 91, 92. They mark it up by $15, and on top of it, they charge a $27 fee. So everything is just extra. If you go to Viator, if you book it on Expedia, if you go directly to the hotels directly, it'll be cheaper. The question is, what is it worth your time? How much you want to invest in, and how much is the client? What's their budget? If they are going to be the one who's going to break down each and every component, right? Ultimately, we don't want that type of client. The same as you're going to Europe Express and accepting the fact that it will be slightly more expensive. You want the client that understands that you send him one thing, you take care of everything, and they're going to pay a little bit more. Okay. So again, length cycle. If you do this and you follow up with them and you create the booking, and then you follow up the next day or 2 days after because deposit is due, technically you can close the sale within 3 days, 4 days top. You start on a Monday, Thursday, it's done. If you're lucky and it's maybe Mexico or all inclusive or something, and they're ready, some clients I ask because I want to know, let's say they want to go, I have clients who want to go in May, right? For Memorial. I asked them, are you ready? Because I pretty much can't hold the option. I'm going to send it to you. Will you have time to review it today? And we will need a credit card and we'll need to make the deposit. And like a car salesman, right? They go in, are you ready to buy this car today? Are you ready to get out with a car? We're not car salesmen, but they need to understand that if I work today and send it to them and they take a day or two and they get back to me, and then I have to research again. So if you like that specific property that I sent you or the flights that you wanted, if you call me tomorrow, they won't be available. The flight is in 2 weeks, right? What's the point? When you're ready to book, when you're ready to put a deposit or pay it in full, they need to understand that they need to pay it in full. And then I'm ready to start. If they're not ready, there's no point. You're just going to work 2-3 times on the same exact thing. And I have clients like that right now, and I'm sorry I took them, right? And they're so appreciative and they paid a fee and everything, but they're just making my life, but as long as it's like a one-off, it is what it is.
Sorry, Roy. So the proposal, approximately how much time, and I know it varies on the complexity of the trip, but kind of on the average, what I would consider like plain vanilla, like not not complex at all. What should I target?
If you did the qualification right, you spoke with the clients, you spent maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, you did the interview, you understand, let's say it's an all-inclusive, right? For me, it's the easiest one, right? They want to do, they're thinking about a 7-night or 6-night, it's an all-inclusive. They kind of have a budget, maybe. I know where they stayed before. I know who's going. If they like the beach, they want to travel around outside of the resorts. They're looking for a water park. The more questions you're going to ask, the easier it's going to be to pinpoint the exact property. If I need to compare between Mexico and Dominican and even Jamaica, it will probably take me 4 minutes per destination. I will send the emails in like a half an hour intervals because I don't want them to think it took me it was so fast. So it'll probably, I'll send one at 10, another one at 10:30, another one at 11, but technically, again, if you haven't done the sales email, for example, with Vax or something, you're missing out. If you guys want, I can take 2 minutes. I can show you now, and that's it. You just send it out, and they do have the links, they do have the pictures, they do have everything. The bad thing about Vax at this point is they're missing a lot of product. So there's no Palace Resorts, there's no Hyatt, there's no Excellence, there's no Sandals. So there's some product that is missing. But if you did the interview and you know the product and you know kind of where you were planning on sending them, it's 15 minutes. When I talk to clients and I do the initial conversation, I write down what I think the properties would be. All I need to find out if the property, is in their budget, if it fits their budget, and if the category of room that I'm thinking is still available. That's it. Sorry.
Thank you.
But you guys should practice. If you haven't done, if you are selling all-inclusive resorts, use Vax, use the sales email. If you don't know how to use it, they do have some training. It just takes you just click, send out.
I actually did look at that earlier. That's how I was able to speak to it. And I remember you saying they're still not able to book without you, right?
Right. They get a link, they can potentially maybe change dates or something, but I find that people just use it to see some pictures, read some reviews, look at the room category, and just go from there. They don't need anything else. They just want to look at pictures. That's all they want to do.
Okay.
So I really, when I call them after I sent the proposal and we're discussing, that's where, overcoming the objections come. Overcoming objections is almost like a number one thing to sales, right? Because they came to you initially. It's not like we're selling insurance, right? They call you, they have the money or, the funds, and they just tell us where to put it, right? We want to go on vacation. We have the money, just tell us where. So we know that they want to travel, and now things come up. Oh, but Mexico is not safe. Or how about like the beach is not a nice beach, or there's seaweed, or I just heard this, or the hotel is too far from the airport, or, all of these things that can come up. Most of them you can, what I call, overcome objections. So if the 3 options that I sent, they're all, an hour away from the airport, okay, back to the drawing board. Again, remember, it took me 5 minutes. We'll go back to it, and then I'll find properties that are closer to the airport. Or I will explain that, half an hour is something really common at that specific destination, and it is what it is. We can have a private transfer at it. So it's not a share. There's not going to be, lots. We make sure everything's arranged. Maybe add another day. Maybe they're feeling like they're losing all that day because of, transfer time. So we'll add another day. We don't know if we want to put the money. There's a risk. There's COVID now. Then, insurance comes along. We can always add insurance. I'm not talking about cost, but we can even get and cancel for any reason insurance. So for any reason, if you need to cancel, you can, get your money back. Anything that comes up as an objection, like they still want to go, but they're afraid, right? I'm not pushing something that they know. We changed our mind. We don't want to go on vacation. No. Let me convince you. No, we really want to go, but this is an issue for us. This doesn't work for 1, 2, 3. And that's where your expertise comes along, and you overcome the objection. Prepare the answers in your head. Some of them will just take experience, but for any objection that is out there, there is an answer for it, right? Because people are going, people are traveling. There are hotels that are close to the airport that have a good beach, that are more party. Oh, I don't want to go during that. This is a hotel. Now it's spring break. I heard there's lots of kids out there. Yes, a lot of college kids are there, but to the hotel that I technically sent you, which is, you know, Secrets, whatever, it's a higher property, higher end property. The kids are looking for something else, more like a, you know, like a Riu's, like, you know, party hotels. These are not the type of, yes, it's going to roam. There's going to be lots of people at the Cocobongo, but are you planning on going to Cocobongo? Probably not. So let's not worry about that, right? Same thing with, you know, with cruises. Anything that you can overcome the objection will just make you sound more professional and will technically escalate you to close the sale. So if you have, like, you know, people that are struggling with something, with a specific destination that you're selling, maybe even COVID or something, figure out the answer. You can come here and ask, and we'll try and overcome the objection together. But everything is doable. Anyone encountered something that people just don't? Besides, we ran out of money, the stocks went down, and we can't afford it anymore. That I can't. That's you can't do anything about that.
The safety thing comes up a bit. You know, and that I gather is, you know, it's interesting because in some cases it's people's friends. It's not even just going and searching stuff on the internet. So that can be a little bit challenging. There's like a joke diagram that goes around for Mexico. That's, you know, I don't know if you guys have seen it. It runs on the Facebook groups, and it asks, am I safe in Mexico? So it goes along and asks, are you planning on buying any drugs? No. Are you planning to join the cartel? And it's like, yes or no. And, you know, are you planning a stay on site? Are you planning on going 2 a.m. to whatever? Are you going to pick fight with them? Technically, you know, there are areas, I'm half an hour from New York City. There are certain neighborhoods that I won't go around roaming at 2 a.m. If you go around roaming at 2 a.m. somewhere, you are looking for problems, right? So if most of the resorts are safe, they're within a community or a closed gated community, like a Cap Cana area. You've been to the sanctuary, you've seen it. You have to go through a guard, and then you go into the property, there's another guard. So some places might feel a bit more secure than others, but for the most part, it's people can't just come onto the property and just walk around, especially in the all-inclusives. There are guards on the beach from interfering people that are selling stuff or coming from other resorts. So you should feel really, really comfortable. If you're doing tours, that's also, so we'll arrange tours. We'll work with specific companies that we know, we trust, we have experience with. You're not just gonna find someone who just took a car and just gonna take you somewhere, right? We work with companies, same thing with the taxi. You're not going to take just a taxi. We're going to arrange someone that we work with. They'll have a sign, they'll wait for you. It also helps you sell more products, right? Because it's they need to feel safety, but that's technically it, right? I don't go into statistics, but I'm sure New York City or Chicago or Detroit or whatever, there's some places that are even more dangerous than whatever happens in the hotel zone in Cancun or Cap Cana in the Dominican. But ultimately, people have to feel comfortable and safe. There's waves of things, sometimes Jamaica is the problem, sometimes it's Mexico, sometimes it's Dominican. It just rotates. So some friends will always have something to say, some people are just too worried about everything. So yeah, it's
I hear it, but if someone says, I don't feel safe in Mexico, that's fine. Will you feel safe in the Dominican and Jamaica and Bahamas? And we can find a destination that you feel safe and comfortable, right? So it can't be, the whole world can't be unsafe and you're in the only place that is safe. We'll find something.
My clients leave on Saturday for the sanctuary, so we got through it.
Yeah, I'm sure. And they'll come back to you, and even if they want to see locals in the Cap Cana area, they can't. It's mostly Americans that bought kind of like, the timeshares and the buildings. There's not a lot of locals in the Cap Cana area. It's just too expensive for them to stay. I am actually going to skip the leads, referral, social media and stuff like that. I'm actually going to put it in a marketing because we were kind of running out of time, but I'm going to put it in marketing, which is going to be the next session. But I am going to, again, I had the follow-up, which is, I kind of mentioned it after you had the initial hold. You do the follow-up, you make sure that they're aware that if they are not going to put the deposit, they are going to lose the booking. Prices might go up. A lot in sales, we talk about scarcity, we talk about urgency. You need to book because, and we're not lying to anyone. Technically, flights will sell out. All flights, if you've been on a plane in the last couple of years, the planes, except for, COVID specific, but the flights will be full at the end. Most hotels will be full. So they're going to run out of space, especially flights. So if they don't book right now, they'll get a higher price. They won't sit together. They'll have to, instead of leaving at 10 a.m., they'll have to leave 5 a.m. And then that means 3 a.m. at the airport. And who knows, So if this is what they think they're going to like, now is the time to book it. And then, closing the sale is pretty much the important thing. And after you closed it, meaning you took the credit card, you made the deposit, you made sure everything's okay and good, you checked with multiple suppliers after. And I did a session about suppliers. Sometimes pricing can be the same with multiple suppliers, but your commission could be higher with one or two, or maybe, Suzanne, you have a preferred supplier that you like to work with. Maybe Vacation Express has the same price, but Vacation Express gives the freebies, right? Or maybe they had a 20% commission on this specific thing. Or if you book Melia Direct, you get points. Or there's multiple options. After you found out what it is that you want to book, you just before you close and finalize, you always check to see maybe there's a promo code that you missed. Maybe, and that's not necessarily to reduce the price for the client, right? The client already agreed to $2,500 the vacation. If you can save another 50, you can make another 50, right? Sometimes transfers, most of the time, I probably won't book with, the ALGs and the vacation. I'll go directly to Nexus or to, all these companies directly and try and book it on themselves. And whatever I can make extra is, I just mark it up. Or, you could include it in something or give a discount, whatever you want to do on the next tour that they're going to book or something. But you need to understand that the goal, without sounding like we only care about the money, is closing the sale, right? If we haven't done, if we didn't take the credit card, if we didn't ask for the sale, right? If we went through the whole process, we interviewed, we checked, we made sure, we explained, now is the time to ask for the credit card to close the sale. If you didn't do that, then they'll go and they'll book somewhere else. If they call Royal Caribbean, if they call United Vacations, if they call, they will book them right there on the spot. The cycle of closing for regions, for everyone, even a $10,000, $20,000 vacation is an hour or two. If they call the Sandals Sandals will put a courtesy hold on it, and they'll convince them to pay $98 deposit because it's a refundable deposit. So if they call Disney, they're going to take a credit card and they're going to put $200 deposit on the booking. So all of these suppliers, they have the techniques, and people are willing to put the deposit. They again, they are ready. They want to travel. If you somehow can convince them that this is the time and they listen to you, you should be able to close and make the booking right there and then. You know, it's if it's the trip is not complicated, several hours can be enough. Right? Did you have any clients where they called and you were able to close it within, you know, a couple of days in the last couple of weeks, recent trips? Right? People seem to be maybe more ready right now to book. They had enough. They know, I don't know, maybe it's because of COVID, maybe because they haven't traveled in a while. There's tons of reasons and why, but it's doable and it is possible. And you have to understand that this is the end goal, right? To technically close the sale, make commission. And of course, after it is making sure that everything's okay. And that's not part of the sales, but that's part of the, how do you call it? But just double checking everything's okay. There is there's something that I forgot, but the goal is technically to make sure that everything runs smoothly when your client gets to the property. Yes, Michelle.
I heard you say that if you're able to sort of like find a savings, so to speak, that you can still build that into the price that you're charging the client. So am I able to just do that without like adding a fee? Like, I don't want them to see a line item that like I've added a fee. I believe Fax allows me to do that without disclosing that to the client, but I know like others.
Most of the tour operators that sell Mexico Caribbean, if we're talking about that as an example, will allow you to, you know, Delta Vacations, Vacation Express, all of these suppliers will give you the option to mark up. If it's something else, there are other options, but it depends on how much the savings would be.
Okay. Yeah, because I've run into some where they either don't allow it. So like I would have to do that just on my own, which then I figured like I wouldn't. So, okay, thanks. You answered my question.
I would say for advance bookings, or once you have more experience, there are ways. Some agents do take the credit card from the client, they charge them directly and they pay the supplier directly. I would call it a little more advanced, but it's totally possible. Just make sure that you're in a state that there's no, you know, sellers travel issues, or if your host doesn't allow it. But for the most part, there's always a way to do it. And even if you were able to save 50, for example, you can tell the client, I now have an opportunity to book this specific excursion and you'll have $20 off, right? So you kind of give them 20, keep 30, and you can mark up that specific tour or that excursion or something. We can figure out something, but it's certainly doable. Anything else? Anyone has any questions or problems that they encountered recently? Bill?
Yeah. So I know there's been a lot of talk about, charging a planning fee, and that may be a longer conversation, but would love to hear what people are charging and, how you, if somebody books, how do you go about, crediting that back and so forth?
Well, if Michelle would like to talk, I'll give her the opportunity. But in general, there are two types of fees, right? Some fees are just charged and they're not going to get them back, right? This is the fee that I charge for my time. It's not an amount that goes towards your trip. It's not an amount that you'll get back. that's the fee. That's one option. There are other options where people say this is like a good faith deposit, put $100 and then we will apply this later towards your trip. It's more logistically challenging, but it's certainly doable. It's up to you, but you also need to kind of figure out and say, why am I charging the fee? Am I charging a fee because I want to avoid the tire kickers? People who are just calling me all the time and I'm just wasting my time writing proposals, or I invest so much time doing the types of trips that I do, like I plan for, 4 countries, and it's going to take me a lot. So if I make $500-600 commission off this sale, it's not worth it. I need to charge another $200 to make it worth my while. So first you need to figure out why you're charging the fees, and then, what your model. Michelle, if I'm not mistaken, you charge a consulting fee, right? It's your fee. It doesn't go towards your trip.
Yeah, that's correct. Mine is a non-refundable professional services retainer, and that covers like by time for research, any support while they're in destination, and of course post return, like follow-up, things like that. And it's $150 for any, I keep it pretty simple, like $150 for trips that are 7 days or less, $250 for 8 days or more. I think right now I'm trying to figure out, what do I do for those clients that come to me that, they can't decide where they want to go. So they want to be in like 3 different parts of the world. And then how do I do that? Because as Roy pointed out, you're doing the same type of research for each location. But so far that's worked for me, and I'm trying to make sure that I don't make my fee so high that it's like a barrier for somebody to work with me. But at the same time, I am providing these other services that, quite frankly, commissions don't cover.
Right. And you need to feel comfortable with it. It's again, a lot of agents that are just finding out that if people are just using them for the information, they're going to book online. And if you have knowledge that from your experience, or something that you can access, people are willing to pay it. You are willing to go to Europe Express, that is more expensive, right? We talked about it. People come to you because you have the expertise, you know where to go, you know how to book it, and they are willing to pay the fee. Are they willing to pay it for a simple all-inclusive or a 3-night Carnival cruise? Depends. So it really depends on the model. I can tell you that personally, I don't charge too many fees, but I also don't have the problem of people calling and not booking. I tend to close a very, very high percentage of people who call me. It's probably in the high 90s. So if someone calls me and we qualify and we start the work, unless something significant happened that no longer allows them to go on vacation, they will book. And for that, I don't need to, the amount of time that I invest in the Mexico Caribbean vacations that I sell, the commission that I get is enough. If I can mark it up, sometimes I do, but in general, if I make 4, 5, 6, I normally also work on a higher budget. But if they have a $10,000 budget or $8,000 budget, and I make $1,000 per booking, and it took me a couple of hours, I don't need. It would be nice to have another 100, but it's fine.
Well, you have the experience, and probably your smell test is a little bit better than mine on qualifying people. So I think that's part of why I'm thinking about, should I be, considering a fee. I haven't done that initially because a lot of it was really word of mouth, friends, family, friends of friends, and there seemed to be like sort of built-in, quote unquote, trust that we were going to have an upfront kind of conversation.
Right. It's a process. You again need to figure out. I think that if you find out that you're wasting your time proposing and not closing, a fee is in order. If you just book and you're all good and no issues, again, unless you're doing something unique, unless you are bringing your specialty, you can sell Alaska, you can sell Hawaii, but you make restaurant reservations. There's multiple things that you have to offer. You visited the destination, you know a lot about it. You should feel comfortable charging a fee. And
I find I book mainly cruises, and it doesn't make sense to charge a fee. I like with my clients, it just doesn't seem like it's feasible just to charge a fee for cruise clients. Now, I have had several honeymoons. They have been like a nightmare because I have not been able to. I've closed one honeymoon. I've probably had 5. The first 3, I did not charge a fee, went through all the work, put together a honeymoon. They said, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, but we've decided to do it on our own. They've taken my proposal, my package, they've gone off and done it. And I felt very burned and very upset about it. Then finally, the last 2, I charged a fee. And I told them that I was going to charge a fee and then deduct it off the final payment on the honeymoon. And it scared both of them off. Both honeymoon people. I don't know whether it's just something with young people. They have like a whole different attitude about travel planning and about using, a travel advisor than, more mature people. But I find
how much time did you
dealing with young
invest?
people is really hard.
What were they looking for? Where were they going?
I've had 2 Hawaii honeymoons. I've had one that actually had 3 different options of honeymoon. They wanted me to look into Italy and Greece combination. They wanted me to look into Ireland, and then they also thought about possibly an all-inclusive in the Caribbean. Talk about 3 like completely different things. And then they've just recently told me that they've decided that they're going to go with Ireland, but they're going to they're just going to go ahead and do it on their own.
Okay.
So, and
for something like that, it's just, again, it really depends on the destination, right? If someone sells a lot of Ireland and they've been to Ireland, could be like the easiest thing for them. To me, I've been to Hawaii several times. A proposal to Hawaii also, takes me, 15 minutes, 10. It's not. The whole thing for me is when I talk to them to figure out which islands they want to go to and kind of what their budget. Need to know if they're taking a car or not in some of the destination, and just it's fast. I wouldn't think about charging a fee if it's just Hawaii. If they want to do Hawaii and maybe Italy and maybe this, I'm not going to sell you 3 trips. So it has to be worth my time. And especially they need to
that's one of the ones where I did tell them that I was charging a fee.
Well, charge the fee. Like Michelle said, she doesn't start the proposal process if they haven't paid the fee. Because I am going now. Did you ever charge them the fee?
Well, I sent them my, my paperwork, my terms and conditions, and my, that broke down the fee, along with, some other things. And they wouldn't sign. They just kept coming back to me saying, well, we're not really comfortable with it yet. We're not really sure. We're talking about it. We'll let you know. Like, they wouldn't commit to it. They just like kind of, it sat there, and I could tell that they had a really big issue with, even though the fee was going to be coming off the final balance. But it, I realized that maybe it was a sign that I was going to end up, doing this work, and they weren't going to, end up paying anyway. So
exactly.
I just kind of looked at it.
If there's no risk to them, and you're actually going to tell them you're going to apply it into the thing, then
I said to them, it's really, don't think of it as a as a fee, just, like think of it as, think of it as a planning fee. I'm doing, and I didn't even want to use the term fee. I said, think of it as just
I mean,
a
to
planning.
you, what you're doing is technically a non-refundable deposit, right? They put the deposit towards the trip. It's
Right, the deposit
non-refundable.
down,
You're not going to
exactly.
get it back. It's valid
Exactly.
for 12 months from the time that they purchased it. So they can apply
Right.
it to any type of vacation that they're going to book with you. It's fine,
Right.
but it's a non-refundable deposit. So they need to decide
Right.
if they want to do it or not. Otherwise,
feel
again,
ho-
as you said, you're just wasting your time, and we don't want to
But
do
I
that.
find honeymooners to be really, really difficult to work with. I don't know if you guys do a lot of honeymoons for people, but I'm completely like scared off from doing honeymoons, right? I feel like, I do cruises. That's my area of expertise. I do a few FITs also, FITs. I do, some Europe trips, but the honeymooners, I have not found that dealing with young people has been worthwhile.
I do
work with.
quite a bit of
Maybe if you guys
destination
would
weddings,
have
so it's mostly the young people, and it's
Yeah.
if you explain to them that you're going to take the whole process, if you talk to them and, oh, she's a planner, she likes to do this, she normally always plans this, oh, he always does, okay, maybe that's not a right fit. But if they're like, look, we're really busy, we have the wedding that we're planning, and we have everything that we need to do, we just want to make sure that everything is set once we get married, and then we leave the next day, that's a sign. That's a good client. If someone says, oh, that's her thing, they just love to spend hours and hours online just to research and run away. So again, not a good fit. Doesn't, if they don't understand the value and they just think that it's the whole part of the planning is the part of the trip, maybe they'll become travel agents in the future, right? But it's probably not a good fit. And for cruises with fees, do you sell into groups? Who's your host? Are you with travel planners?
I'm with travel planners,
Okay.
and I sell into groups. And
So if you
I
sell
also have
into
some
groups,
myself.
the group pricing can be thousands of dollars cheaper than published.
Yeah.
You at that point,
cruises are fine.
you can say this is a group rate. We have a fee to book into the group, right? This is a group that we've managed. It costs $50 to book into the group. You're saving $500, but there's a $50 fee. And you know what? You're actually going to get it back in an onboard credit because that group has $50 onboard credit. So think about it as $50 that you're getting back as an onboard credit, and the onboard credit doesn't come from you technically because it's within the group. The signature groups have them, and you charge the fee. So there are options to charge fees if you decide you want to, right? You don't have to, but even with cruises, simple cruises, there are ways to charge fees if you decide that's the way you want to go.
It's great. I like that. I didn't even think about that.
Again, so I believe in the model of shared savings, right? If I can save you money, you don't need to save that much. We can split it. We can split the savings a little bit. Anyone has any questions? I guess not. Okay, so hopefully it helped you. Most of you on here are part of the program, so you will have access to this. It'll probably take me a day or two to upload. If you, for some reason, don't have access to the videos, shoot me an email, message me, and I'll open it. If you are interested in our mentoring program, you could, again, message me. I'll share some more information from you. We normally do 2, sometimes 3 group sessions a month. And depending on the level that you pick, you get 1, 2, sometimes 4 one-on-one sessions. So it really depends. Hopefully I helped you. I opened your eyes to something, and you'll be able to sell a little bit better and faster.
Can you send me more information about your mentoring program?
Sure. I'll send you
Would
the
you mind
information.
emailing me?
we can chat and go from there if you decide you want to do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So have a great week. It's the middle of the week. Normally
Thanks,
we do
Roy.
it at the end of the
Yeah.
week, but it's middle. If anyone needs me, you know how to get me, and we'll be in touch. Someone who's okay, perfect. You're welcome, Don.
Thank
So
you.
it's best-
Thank you
Thank you.
so much for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you
Roy.
very
Bye,
much.
everyone.